Shit.
Welcome back to Banging the Can, the Houston sports show that does not apologize for championship rings and tings, presented by Bolen Media. I am your host, Ross Bolen, and man, that was a rough weekend for the Astros. The boys got swept by the Seattle Mariners, dropping all three games, losing 2-0 on Friday with J.P. France on the mound, then losing 10-3 on Saturday with Framber Valdez completely unraveling and giving up 6 runs in 5 innings, and losing 7-6 on Sunday with another largely unimpressive outing from Hunter Brown, giving up 6 runs in the first 3 innings. That was the worst 3-game stretch I've seen from the Stros this season. J.P. France was really the only starting pitcher who looked locked in, so of course we gave him literally 0 run support. Defensively, we were a sloppy mess all 3 games, making more mistakes than I've seen in a 3-game stretch all year long. Booting balls, throwing shit away, missing diving plays, and dropping shit in the outfield. Fucking Dubon doing somersaults in center field. Just a sloppy shit show. Offensively, we had very few impressive at-bats. We ran the bases like dog shit. Even Altuve's historic 2,000th hit ended with him trying to extend it into a double and getting gunned down at second, almost exactly the same way Craig Biggio did with his 3,000th hit, ironically. On top of all that, Dusty made some managerial decisions that have fans scratching their heads. It was tough to watch pretty much all around. Every aspect of the game was frustrating all 3 days, really, which feels like it was made to be even more negative because it was such a disservice to Jose Altuve and what should have been one of the best weekends of his baseball career, getting to 2,000 hits. The only upside to this weekend, to this shit weekend, is that the Rangers lost Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to the Milwaukee Brewers. But frankly, you could consider that even more downside. Because had we handled our business against the Mariners, we could, at the very least, be tied for the divisional lead right now. So here's where things stand. The Astros are 2.5 games back of the Rangers still. But the Mariners are now just a half game back from the Astros. And the AL West is officially a 3-team race for the division, which is not ideal. To make matters worse, Toronto is also just a half game back of the Mariners for the final wild card spot. So now the wild card race is tight and crowded in the American League as well. We've got under 40 games left in the season now, so while nobody needs to full-blown panic yet, as I said last week, it is certainly time for the team to lock the fuck in, step the fuck up, and start playing like defending champions who want to repeat. One of the things the Astros have done so well over the last 6 years is establish a mental edge in the regular season by owning the teams they need to own so that when the playoffs do roll around, they already feel that, like, dread, like, oh shit, the Astros are coming. That has not happened this year thus far. And if you know baseball, you know that regardless of how you play, you are going to have tough stretches. You are going to catch tough breaks. You're going to have series that just don't go your way. There is more of an element of luck to baseball than most purists like to admit. There is certainly some luck that comes into play. Sometimes you've got guys just crushing the ball right at fielders. And that'll happen for like several days. And it's like, what the heck is happening? Baseball is just that kind of game. It's almost like poker, where there is certainly a high level of skill that can be applied, but no matter what, you still have to catch some lucky breaks along the way. And sometimes when that doesn't happen, boy, things can get ugly. But if you make mistakes that feed into those tough stretches, those stretches where you're not catching the breaks, where you are having some tough luck, if you make mistakes on top of that shit, that's when you get into a situation like the Yankees are in right now, where the playoffs suddenly become a pipe dream and you're no longer a competitive threat to anyone. It can't happen. And that's what happened with the Astros this weekend at a time where they should have been taking advantage of the Rangers finally losing some games and in a series where they frankly could not afford to yield more ground to the Seattle Mariners, who, let's be honest, we weren't even thinking about or talking about a month ago. The Mariners are suddenly back in the picture. Now we've got to worry about the Rangers and the Mariners down the stretch, and it's been a while since the Astros had this much competition in the division. It's been a minute. This is sort of unfamiliar territory for us, for our players and our fan base at this point. The sloppy defensive play is inexcusable. That's probably the thing from this weekend that pissed me off the most. Just handing the Mariners runs. Just giving runs to the Mariners on a silver platter. Making dumbass fielding errors. Again, one of the things about the Astros over the last several years that stands out with regard to their success, they don't make sloppy mistakes consistently. They don't give games away consistently. This weekend, that's exactly what they did. Pitching-wise, Framber Valdez, boy, he's got to pull his head back out of his ass. He looks like he did a few years ago, before he got the mental side of his game in check. He's getting frustrated, flustered. He's throwing at hitters. He's missing spots. And outside the no-hitter a couple weeks back, look, he's been a mess for a while. It's probably one of the top 3 concerns for this ball club moving forward. That guy has to be there. He's our ace. If you want to win another pennant, you have got to have that dude locked in. And right now, he is anything but. No hitter aside. He is not on top of his game. And that for him has always been it's the mental thing for him. He's just off. I don't know what's going on. Maybe he's not meditating enough in the dugout, but he's got to go back to whatever he was doing last year, because this isn't it. I mean, he just threw at a dude, and then he went at him. He causing the benches to clear in a series where we are getting embarrassed. That's not it. That just isn't it. That's not leadership. That's not poise. That's not what you need from the guy on the mound who is supposed to be your ace. And if you think that shit doesn't trickle down, you're wrong. It does. It absolutely does. That mentality, that lack of stability, that shit spreads. It's cancerous. It's like a virus. You cannot have it. You cannot have it. A few years ago when he was like that, when he couldn't keep his head on straight, it was different. He was not the guy, the man. Now he is the guy, the man. We depend on this cat to lead and to perform. But even if you don't have your stuff, you better not let anybody know it. Don't show it. Not in this game. You got to go out there and you got to pitch. And you got to fucking battle and get the job done. No excuses. None of this throwing at the mayor. This is twice now that he's lost his cool and very blatantly thrown at someone. And first of all, he keeps doing it in a pussy-ass kind of way. Pegging somebody in the back of their calf. And then when the guy basically turns to you to ask, like, hey, man, what the hell? Because you just gave up a 2-run blast and you're clearly angry, but I didn't do anything. You go at him? Step toward him with the, what is that? Speak up? Causing the benches to clear? Like, come on, man. Then, to make matters worse, you've got their best player, Julio Rodriguez, coming out and restraining you? He's the guy holding you back? Having to talk you down? He's like 22 years old. He's a kid. That's just not a good look. I didn't like that. I don't like their guy being the one having to talk to our guy to get him straightened out. Why is that not like that? I'll just say this. Back in Carlos Correa's day on the Astros, that never would have happened. Never in a million fucking years. That would have been Correa pushing Rodriguez off of Valdez and then walking away with Valdez. You cannot have the other team be that dude. What the fuck? That really bothered me, if you can't tell. There's There's like a vacuum, a void that has been created here. Like a power vacuum, but for leadership that we still haven't quite filled in. Even last year, Correa was just so clearly the vocal leader of the team. You could pull up clips from back in the day where he was the one out there on the mound giving Framber Valdez an earful. And when he left, we were fortunate enough that Pena stepped up and from a performance perspective, filled in the gap that Carlos Correa's absence created. But from a leadership perspective, it appears that gap is still there. If I got to watch a second-year Mariners All-Star be the one to restrain my ace when the bench is clear, something is amiss. Did not like to see that. And that is probably part of what contributed to the overall feeling of nobody's in control that occurred this weekend. Framber has to be better. We all know it, and he knows it. And that's the thing. He knows we know he knows. John Singleton has done absolutely bupkis since his two-home run day against the Angels. I think he's like 1 for 22 since then, or something horrifying like that. Big John has got to be more effective at the plate. This is his big shot. A crazy thing he's pulled off here that I don't know that anybody has ever done before, being away from the game as long as he was and then stepping back in and having an opportunity to be an impact on the defending champion team. Got to be better. Got to be more effective at the plate. Dusty Baker has to do more to help himself and his squad out, admitting to the media that Kyle Tucker wanted to play the whole game on Sunday after being sick for 2 days and missing Friday and Saturday, and telling the media that it was his choice. Dusty said no. Then bringing him in to pinch hit in the 7th inning so he's coming in cold. That was some silly shit. Inexplicable. And surely, yes, there are details that we don't know as fans and that Dusty and Kyle did not provide us with in their interviews. Surely. But even so, it's the look of it, the way it looks and feels is not just a thing for us as fans. It's not. For the players on the field, this shit matters. That just makes it seem like you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Even if you do, I'm not saying he doesn't know what he's doing. I'm saying he does things that make it look like he doesn't know what he's doing, which is somehow worse. I would prefer he be adult. Because then it'd be like, Dusty's kind of a dumbass, but at least he gets the job done at the end of the day. This is more frustrating. I know that old man knows what he's doing. So what the fuck was that? The 7th inning? Fuck. Come on. That was brutal. There were several points in the game on Sunday where I said out loud to myself in my living room, I wish Kyle Tucker was playing today. Then he comes in when it's too little, too late. Like, it's just tough to accept that. Tough to watch that decision get made. And Astros Twitter was a living hell for the rest of the day as a result. It just gives all these negative clowns an excuse to pile on. Oh, we suck. It's over. We're not going to make the playoffs. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. That's insane talk. 40 fucking games left. People are throwing in the towel. But that's what I mean. Dusty can limit that type of I know he doesn't care. I know they don't care about Twitter. They don't care what the fans are saying because by and large, we don't know what we're talking about. But still, there's an image issue here, leadership-wise. People want to feel like they know that the guy in charge knows what he's doing. And when you make decisions like this with Kyle Tucker, no, he's not going to play today. Well, we're getting fucked again. Time to bring Kyle in the 7th inning. And then I have to watch him warm up in the on-deck circle just knowing what that feels like if you ever played baseball. If you've ever sat on the bench for 7 freaking innings and then had your coach be like, oh, actually, never mind, you're in. I'll tell you a quick story. One time in high school, my coach, and I'm not trying to relive the glory days here. They were anything but that. The point is, my coach got upset with me before a game. I was a starting pitcher. And he told me I wasn't even allowed to sit with the team in the dugout during the game. He made me go sit in the fucking bleachers with my uniform on. And then, guess what? Our starting pitcher choked. And in the 4th inning, this man called me in from the bleachers. I was not ready. The mentality shift to make from like, well, I'm just going to sit here and watch the game feeling embarrassed to, oh shit, I'm suddenly in and now I'm pitching. It's the same kind of deal. You tell Kyle Tucker, the guy who went, I want to play today, coach. Coach, put me in, coach. And you said no. Do you think the rest of the 7 innings he sat there locked in like, well, just because he said no doesn't mean no. I'm going to be ready no matter what. On some level, it makes a difference. Mentality-wise, certainly it makes a difference. And it's hard, any sport, to come in cold. I don't care what anybody says. You're sitting there on the bench for 7 innings. You're not watching the pitcher with the same acute level of detail that you would if you knew there was a chance you might be in hitting. That's not how sports work. Very few people are that psychotic to know they're not going to play. Have been told no and still sit there and stay as locked in as they would if they were in the lineup. And it showed. Kyle got up to bat and it was like, oh, fuck. You could just kind of tell. He wasn't there. He wasn't ready. It's not his fault. He should have been in the whole time. Got this wacky-ass fucking outfield as a result. Fucking Dubon somersaults as a result. That was the most... Some silly shit from Dubon and Chaz this weekend. Unimpressive. The plays they normally make that make me go, wow. They were missing. They were dropping. They were not there. Sad. Very unfair. But Kyle Tucker, holy shit. I mean, when Yordan is in a slump like he is currently, and your other offensive MVP is being benched by choice, and your starting pitchers can't get through 5 innings, you are not going to win very many games. You're not. Obviously, that showed this weekend. So the Astros are not where they want to be as we near the end of August here. And as a result, after Sunday's loss, they held a players-only meeting. Thank Christ. It was time. Players-only meeting. I love to see it. That is where my worries wave bye-bye. Because nothing about this team, nothing about our core leadership over the last several years leads me to believe that a weekend like this one will be allowed to become a common occurrence. This is a wake-up call. Maldonado called the series a slap in the face, and then a players-only meeting took place. So if you're down and out on the Astros right now, essentially what you are telling me is that you don't trust Jose Altuve, Kyle Tucker, Yordan Alvarez, Alex Bregman, Michael Brantley, and Justin Verlander to get the boys on the same page and playing the way we know this team can play? I'm not trying to be incapable of negativity. I think I'm a pessimist at heart. But there are nearly 40 games of baseball left to be played here, fam. We're 2.5 games back of Arlington, and yes, the Mariners are on their ass now, but if you watched that series this weekend and you walked away scared of Seattle, you were not paying attention. We lost those games more than they won those games. Fact. Sometimes you catch bad breaks like the Astros seem to have this entire fucking season. Sometimes you catch a good break like the Mariners did this weekend where we were just completely off our game and yielded 3 to them in a row. So did it suck ass to watch those games this weekend? Absolutely. I always, when we have a bad stretch like that, 3 games in a row, I always feel like I just wasted about 8 hours of my life. I'm like, I could have been doing anything, which is not actually true because it's 140 fucking degrees outside and I have a 6-month-old son at home, so I can't do much. But I get that feeling of like regret as a fan is one of the worst things to deal with. It's what I feel with the Texans every game, every year. I sit there and watch 3.5 hours of football, and then I go, God damn it, I could have been learning poetry or something to make me feel better instead of worse. It was tough. So it sucked, yes. Did failing to take advantage of the Rangers' rough patch make me want to punch a hole in the wall? For sure. Does Dusty Baker sometimes do shit that makes you wonder if he's even paying attention? Yes. But I believe in the core leadership of this team. I've seen what it looks like when our offense is clicking and our pitchers are pitching, and I have no reason to believe the boys won't step up after an extremely disappointing weekend. One thing about Houston that you better make peace with if you want to survive, it is really freaking hot in the summer, and if you don't dress accordingly, you will die accordingly. Fortunately, Bird Dogs will have you looking and feeling good all summer long, no matter how hot it gets, in the most comfortable and versatile shorts, pants, and bathing suits in the entire world. Today's episode is brought to you by Bird Dogs. I've been wearing Bird Dogs for several years now. They cannot be beaten. I wear them to sleep, to do yard work, to work out, to go swimming. I wear them to do everything. They fit great. They look great. They feel great. They're insanely comfortable and come in a ton of different designs, all with funny names like the Duffy the Vampire Slayers, Uncle Bucks, Teddy Rubskins, Art Fart Knockers, the Forest Pumps, Marco Pool Boys, Zero Dark 30s, and Tight Wads. I have an entire drawer in my dresser occupied solely by Bird Dogs. It's got like 20 pairs in there. So if you want to look like money while you're working in the yard or swimming at the pool, Bird Dogs are the move, friend. Their pants, phenomenal for the golf course or the office or going out to dinner or hitting the bars. Hashtag versatile. And now they've got great looking polo shirts that are just as comfortable as the shorts. Click on the link in the description below to go to birddogs.com/BTC. Enter code BTC at checkout, and they will throw in a free Bird Dogs tech hat with every order. It's a great hat, beautiful hat. Bird Dogs hat for free when you go to birddogs.com/BTC and use code BTC as in banging the can at checkout. Birddogs.com/BTC, code BTC. All right, now it's time to go to the Banging the Can voicemail hotline. 888-203-2339 is the number. It's a voicemail box. All right, you don't have to talk to anyone. You don't have to actually talk to me or anybody. Voicemail box, 888-203-2339. Just have your shit planned out before you call in so you don't sound like a doofus. Share your take or pose a question. And remember, you got a 2-minute limit. A 2-minute limit before it cuts you off. 120 seconds and then you're done. 888-203-2339. Now let's hear our first call for today.
Yeah, this is Thomas from downtown. Same person that called in with the Bregman take last video. First thing I want to say is that Bregman is my favorite player of all time. Love him. Really don't want to see him go. I think maybe he will. Don't think it's a huge possibility. It's just like a 15% chance. Anyway, what I wanted to say was I need the Jeremy Pena slander to stop. He has been not the greatest shortstop this year for us. He's been horrible offensively. He's taken a step back with the glove, but he's still a great player. And when I think about his struggles this year, I think about Jonathan India last year. 2021 Rookie of the Year with the Reds. Last year he was horrific. He was horrible. And whenever I think about Pena this year, I think last year he was great. And this year he hasn't been the same player. So what I'm waiting for is a Pena bounce back. But you can't forget what he did in the playoffs just like it was nothing. I feel like the Pena disrespect needs to stop because he is the sole reason, in my opinion, that we were able to get to the World Series and not take a step back because of the departure from Carlos Correa. That's it. Just stop the Jeremy slander.
Thomas from downtown says stop the Jeremy Pena slander. He also brought up Alex Bregman, said he's his favorite player. And I want to talk about Breggy for a second. Alex Bregman, who is a guy I've been on a couple times over the past 2 seasons, this season and last season. This dude is still one of the best hitters in baseball. I'm not sure there is anyone in the league currently that does a better job of seeing the strike zone, laying off of pitches that would otherwise reel you in, taking walks, getting on base, and making contact when he does swing. He has been incredible. Really, really stepped up over the last several weeks, really couple months, really since the All-Star break. He's looked good. And even before that, there was never a point this season where I was like, oh, God, here we go again. Bregman's lost in the clouds. He is that dude, and he needs credit. He deserves it because he's a phenomenal third baseman. Defensively, he is great. He has a great glove. Sometimes I feel like we're spoiled. You forget how difficult third base is. Every once in a while, we'll be playing another team with another third baseman that gets a shot hit to them that Bregman would take care of easily, that they bobble or fuck up, and I'm like, oh, that's right. Our dude is not normal. Alex Bregman is great, and he deserves more credit and more praise and more talk on the radio and on the podcasts and on the fucking YouTubes and everywhere because he is seriously impressive. It is so fun watching him go to work at the plate and in the field. But lately, I mean, like the field, that's always been there. The way he's worked the plate lately is it's something else. And I think he's one of those guys that he gets that feeling like, okay, the team needs me. There's other people who are struggling. I need to step up. And he gets the job done. Alex Bregman, he's one of my favorite players and has been for years. And it's great to see him in the zone that he's in right now. Thomas brought up Bregman because he was asking like what his trade value might be. And I honestly don't. He's one of those guys that like I don't really care what his trade value is. I see no reason he shouldn't retire a Houston Astro. He's won 2 World Series here. He's been here his whole career. I don't want to see him in another uniform. And I don't think he's going to be one of those guys looking for like a decade-long deal. Doesn't seem likely to me. But he's great. I love him. He's been phenomenal at the plate as of late, and he deserves all the credit in the world. Now, back to Jeremy Pena. Yeah, this has been annoying. You're not wrong. Pena has been dog shit at the plate this year. He's basically hitting the opposite of the way Alex Bregman is. A lot of swings and misses, a lot of swinging strikeouts, a lot of looking completely lost, like he cannot tell for the life of him which fucking pitch is coming. It's been rough, and he's made more mistakes in the field than he normally does, but fewer and further between. It's not like I'm like, when the ball gets hit to Pena, I'm concerned on a regular basis. Just every once in a while, he has a little, brain fart or whatever. But if you're sitting there talking down on Jeremy Pena, wait, did he buy no leeway? He was ALCS and World Series MVP his rookie year, which was last year. It's not like this was like 3 seasons ago. It's not like it was 2017. It was 2022. It was the last time we won, which was the last time we played. It just happened. It just fucking happened. How are you going to give him some slack? He is a dude that in the position he's in, with what he did last year, no one is allowed to say anything about this guy until the playoffs come around. And then if he sucks, that's a different story. But until that happens, shut up. Shut up. He's royalty. Shut up. He's 25 years old. Do you have any idea? I'm 36 now. When I was 25, 11 years ago, which that sounds a lot longer ago than it was, I was a fucking idiot. I could barely wipe my ass, which is the case with a lot of 25-year-olds. We like to pretend in our minds like 25 is like the finished product. That is not how it works for a lot of people. Especially young dudes who baseball is their life and they suddenly have millions and millions of dollars. It's a difficult game mentally to play. And it's like, if you don't think he has the raw talent, I don't know, you're in it. You should have your sports take card revoked because you don't know what you're talking about. And you sound like a goofball. I see all these people online. Oh, Pena sucks. Bench Pena. He's the fucking shortstop. Come on. Get it together. ALCS and World Series MVP at 24 years old? What do you want from this man? He's going to be fine. He filled in for Carlos Correa and arguably had a better postseason than Correa has ever had in his first postseason in the majors. When we make it, which we will, this will be his second postseason. No, he has not been good in the regular season batting, but wouldn't you say that it's entirely likely that he is able to produce in the playoffs and that you will feel silly for talking all the shit you talk? I'm completely with you, Thomas. You got to stop the Jeremy Pena slander. It's waste of breath and energy. I shouldn't have to sit here and defend this cat. He did enough. He's done enough. He's 25. It's the regular season. He's batting fucking 8th, 9th. They've pushed him all the way to the bottom of the lineup. I don't think he's a concern. You see what he does in the postseason. Let's watch what he looks like in the coming months, September, October. That's when I'll care. For now, nobody is expecting. He is not the guy that we should have to be looking at like, you need to be doing more. Yordan Alvarez, maybe. But frankly, because of all the injuries, he's just now warming up. I mean, it's guys like Bregman, that's who I point at. I go, you need to be doing more. Now, Bregman is doing as much as he possibly can, in my opinion. So I don't feel that way about him. But certainly you shouldn't be pointing the finger at Jeremy Pena. Fuck out of here. Next call.
I believe next year all Houston teams are going to be in the playoffs. And one of my questions is, what year do you predict the Super Bowl is coming back to Houston with the trophy? Like, when do we win the Super Bowl? What year?
Okay, so he believes next year all Houston teams will be in the playoffs. I'm going to assume he means the Rockets, the Astros, and the Texans. Just to address that, look, you haven't even seen the Rockets play a game yet. New head coach, new guys, whole new look to the franchise. Fred VanVleet, Dylan Brooks. The young cats have another year under their belts. You have no idea what you're looking at yet. We do not know. Now, that being said, I do agree. I think the Rockets could be in the playoffs next season. I do. Now, but I'm just saying we shouldn't be judging anything too early. We haven't seen shit yet, which takes me to my next point. The Texans. Can we get some regular season games under our belt with D'Amico at the helm before we start guessing what that team is going to be like? Could they make the playoffs next season? Yeah, I mean, obviously it's possible. Does it feel likely? No, not really. Not if you've watched Texans games for the last 5 years. The Astros, if they're not in the playoffs, would be massively disappointing. I think our window definitely extends into next season. I love our roster. And yeah, I think we'll make the playoffs this year. I think we'll make the playoffs next year. I think we'll make the playoffs the year after that. And then we'll see where things are. But if they keep building, they keep building. And I mean, point being, I think you've got a 50-50 shot at being dead-ass wrong about all three of those teams making the playoffs next year. Now, when do we next win a Super Bowl? When does it come back to Houston? I think he said, bro, we've never even been to an AFC championship. Every time we make the playoffs, we get the absolute shit slapped out of us. There's been no success for this franchise. None. Dude, getting into playing the Bengals in a wild card game has been like the height of our team's history. There's no Matt Schaub is the most successful quarterback in the history of our team from the perspective of winning games. Matt Schaub. I'll say that again. Matt Schaub. He went through a stretch where he was a pick-six machine. The Texans, that's an insane question. When will we win a Super Bowl? I think if we can make the playoffs, not this season, not next season, but the season after that, I will be happy. All right? This is similarly to the Rockets. New head coach, a lot of new players. We don't really know what we're looking at yet. That was not a good game against the Dolphins this past weekend. It was nice to be able to go, hey, we beat the Patriots in a preseason game. But then to get stomped out was like 28-3. We got nothing going offensively against the Dolphins. Defense looked all right until it didn't. Giving up 28. I mean, I don't know. Their backup quarterback looked pretty damn good, I will say that. But like, nah, man, we don't know what to expect from these guys yet. I just want to see steps in the right direction this season. Super Bowl? You're getting way ahead of yourself. You sound like a fucking Cowboys fan. We got to win some football games in general. Super Bowl. If we win 6 games this year, that's success to me. Super Bowl. Fuck out of here. Next call.
Hey, how's it going? I don't know if you get my other messages. I've been messing up, but my name's Aaron. I'm from Spring, but I was born in Houston. I want to say I really enjoy your podcast. I'm an Astros fan, and I've been looking for content, so I found yours, man. It's enjoyable. Well, my two questions is, for one, what free agents do you see that we could pick up in the near future? Because I think we are needing some more starting pitchers, maybe just one more solid one at the very least, and some bullpen help potentially. And number two is, why the hell is Dusty Baker still our coach? Like, I get it. We got a World Series with him, but can we not get somebody else? Like, the man, every team he went to, they were only World Series winners after he left, and we're just such a good team that he happened to stumble into a World Series. But what's your opinion on him? And if he's gone, who would be a potential head coach? All right, thank you.
Aaron from Spring. I'm not going to talk about free agents or potential pickups because it feels like that window has closed. And I'm focused on this season. But why is Dusty Baker still our coach? Well, we won the World Series last year, and he was our coach then. What is my opinion on Dusty Baker? I love him. I mean, I don't. Look, I get that it can be frustrating sometimes as a fan to not really know what the manager is thinking or doing or why he makes the decisions he makes. That Kyle Tucker thing was pretty triggering for a lot of the Dusty haters. This same shit happened last year, though. It's tough for me to wrap my head around. This happened last year. We ended up winning the World Series. People are going, Dusty doesn't know what he's doing. He's going to mismanage us out of the playoffs. Everybody just needs something to freak out about, I guess. That's part of sports. I don't know why you're aiming it at Dusty Baker. At some point, you need to hold the players accountable for what's happening on the field. They're the ones that have to get it done. If you're upset with somebody, right now, I don't believe that it's fair for that person to be Dusty Baker. Certainly not to the point that you're asking why he's still the head coach. And you're not alone in this, Aaron. I'm not saying, like, you're an idiot, although this is stupid. You're not alone. There's the tens of thousands of Astros fans seemingly asking for Dusty Baker's head on and off this whole season, 1 week, to the next. It's crazy to me. I don't know why you want to live this way. I've got family members like this that are like, fire Dusty, what's he doing? He's a moron. I'm like, dude, you don't know. Imagine any other industry in the world just watching casually from your couch for a while and then thinking you know enough to decide who should be hired or fired. We don't do that with anything except sports, and it results in this madness where people think they know. And for me, this goes back to trust in the front office. For one, I think Jim Crane knows what he's doing. I think he's proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that what he does gets results. 6 seasons in a row, 4 of 6 we've gone to the fucking World Series. Do you trust the man at this point? Maybe, yes. Well, it's him who's hired Dusty. He's the one making that decision. It's like calling Jim Crane a moron every time you go, why is Dusty still the coach? It's a slap in the face to Jim Crane. Not that he cares what any of us peasants think, but this is another area. It's like the Jeremy Pena slander. I'm like, what are you not? Are you out of your mind? He just won ALCS and World Series MVP his rookie season. Give him a little bit of slack with Dusty. I'm like, he's old. For one, he's an old man. Give him a break. For two, we just won the trophy. We still have it. I don't know what else you can ask for. That's the highest achievement in the game. He just did that last year. We're 2.5 games back in the divisional lead and arguably one of the best 10 teams in the sport. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. He's been unlucky this season with injuries, with who's been available, and there's been some weird occurrences where we have like an excess of outfielders, so he has to make difficult decisions on a daily basis about who should be out there. Did he stick with Jake Myers more than he should have? I tend to think so. But a lot of this is the result of the circumstances, not so much like Dusty not being good at his job. The thing that matters more than anything else in the world to me is not what fans think about Dusty Baker. It's what people in the game who know the game think about Dusty Baker. Do you ever hear a player question Dusty Baker on any team? Do you ever hear another manager say anything negative about Dusty Baker? A commentator, fucking media. Nobody has a bad word to say about this guy because he's great at what he does and he's been doing it for 70 fucking years. Leave the old man alone and let him do his job. For the love of all that is good and decent. People asking me, oh, what coach would you like to see coach the Astros? I literally have not even had the thought cross my mind. Why would you even go about looking at it that way? We just won. This one isn't even over. There's 40 games left. God almighty. The lack of composure. Give Dusty a break. If you need somebody to be upset with lately, it's the players. The players are not playing at the level that they are capable of. That's it. It's frustrating for sure, but don't be aiming it at the old man. He's not responsible for what occurred this weekend, certainly. Next call.
So this is more of a hot take than anything, and probably one question, but I feel like Garrett Wallow would end up becoming some type of linebacker too, but he's gonna be a solid linebacker too. I don't know. And then the Astros, I feel like my question with them is, was it really worth it trading for Justin Verlander? Because, sure, he was a good pitcher for us, a great pitcher, fantastic pitcher for us whenever we won. But watching his games with the Mets, it's I don't really know. It's making me iffy about it because those two outfielders or whatever they was, it looked like they have potential. You feel me? I don't know.
All right, I'm not sure what his Garrett Wallow point is. I guess look out for Garrett Wallow on the Texans, I guess. Was it really worth it trading for Justin Verlander? This call was made end of last week. And if you were iffy on the Justin Verlander trade before this weekend, surely you understand it now. Starting pitching, shaky. Justin Verlander, solid. Is he the guy he was 10 years ago? No, nobody is. It's not how life works. But if you've seen him in his 2 outings so far, he was great. He was everything you would want from your starting pitcher to give you a chance to win a baseball game, right? And the Mets, you cannot judge these players by what they were doing on the Mets. That's not a winning organization. That's not a good team. The Mets are garbage. Fuck the Mets. Focus on what he's doing in an Astros jersey, and no question it was worth it. Thank God Dana Brown made that trade. Thank God. Every night before you go to sleep, you should be including this in your prayers. And thank you, Lord Jesus, for allowing Dana Brown to have the wherewithal and wisdom to trade for the great and mighty Justin Verlander. Because had we not done that, then right now we would be having conversations about whether or not this team is going to make a postseason run or be able to beat anybody in the postseason in a 7-game series with the pitching we have without JV. Whew, that would have been ugly. Thank God they made that trade. Now it looks so much better now than it ever has. It was easy the first day after to be like, the prospects. Now, if you're not happy with it, I don't know what the fuck you do. That's the only thing that has kept this team held together. The idea, oh God, at least thank God we brought in Verlander. Starting pitching is a problem. Framber not being there mentally is a problem. Hunter Brown completely failing to take the next step is a problem. Urquidy just got back. We're relying on JP. JP France is inarguably our number 2 guy right now, basically, behind Framber, who maybe isn't even our number 1 guy anymore. So Verlander is right there in the top 3 mix. So yeah, it was worth it. To answer your question, it was extremely worth it. Next call.
This is Ian from Austin. Who's going to win a playoff game soonest, the Texans or the Rockets?
Ian from Austin wants to know who wins a playoff game sooner, the Texans or Rockets. Probably the Rockets. Just being real about it. The pieces are there. We don't know what we have with the Texans yet. D'Amico has to prove he's got what it takes as a coach, and obviously we have a rookie quarterback. So the Texans are in it's like year 1 of the rebuild, where the Rockets are in year 3. They just brought in veteran leadership. We've got Ime Udoka at the helm. We know what the young talent can do. They just need to be led, and they need to be not the ones that are in charge of the fucking running the offense. Having a real point guard is going to be huge. I think the Rockets make the playoffs in the next couple of years. I really do. And so, yeah, for that reason. Now, if you mean who wins a playoff series first, like do the Rockets win a series, or if they only have to win one game, definitely the Rockets. The Texans, but you never know, man. The NFL is so weird. It's such a weird league. So I'd say they're close to the same chances year by year over the next 3 years. This year, fairly close to 0. Rockets definitely have a better chance this season to maybe sneak in to the weird little play-in tournament or whatever. But does that count as a playoff game? Nah, that doesn't count. So the year after that, I think the Texans and the Rockets have equal chances, equal right there. So who's to say? Who's not to say? Next call.
Hey, Ross, this is Zach from the Heights. I think it's just absolutely outrageous that Yainer Diaz is not your everyday catcher on this team. And, I get it, right? Maldonado, he knows the system. He knows our pitchers. He knows how to operate with them and basically be the quarterback on the field. Okay, but how much value is that adding to your team?
Infinite.
Compared to Yainer Diaz and his bat. Okay, Maldonado, I have it pulled up on Baseball Reference. Maldonado is currently hitting 178 in the year, and Yainer Diaz is hitting 273. That is a whole 100 points higher for batting average. And I understand batting average is not everything, but I just think that it is ridiculous that Yainer Diaz is not starting at least half of your games behind the plate. You can say, okay, let's use him as a DH, but the problem is you're going to have Brantley and your other 6 outfielders up for that spot at some point come the postseason. And we know that if Brantley is a better hitter than Diaz, they will use Brantley as a DH at some point, in my opinion. So I'm just curious what your take is on this whole thing, because I cannot stand the fact that Maldonado is your everyday catcher. Even if he took 60% of the reps, I would be happy. But Yainer Diaz has earned that spot.
Zach from the Heights. Look, I hear you, okay? Maldonado haters and questioners. I've been with you at different points in the season. But, all right, so, here, let me put it this way. Do you think that we as fans somehow know more about how inefficient he is as a hitter than the coaching staff and the team? No, right? They obviously know. Right? So when you're asking the question, how much value does Maldonado bring as a catcher? That's the amount. He's the worst hitter in the league. And still, guys like Verlander want Maldonado behind the plate when they're pitching. Still, Dusty Baker runs him out there more than most of you are comfortable with. Guys are requesting him as their catcher. That's how good he is at calling a game. He's calling the pitches. He's doing the scouting. He knows who can hit and where they can hit and what to throw them so that they don't hit, right? And I think it's been hard this season because we've had a lot of struggles on the mound, pitching-wise. But Maldonado, this is another example. It's like with Dusty Baker, when people are like, fire Dusty. I'm like, well, let's see what the real baseball professionals have to say about Dusty. And then every single one of them is like, he's a genius. He's the best. I love Dusty Baker. What a leader. He's the best. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, the fans are morons. We don't know what we're talking about. I'm going to shut up. Maldonado. You hear all the fans, get rid of Maldonado. Start Yainer Diaz. And then I ask myself, all right, well, everybody seems to hate Maldonado because he can't hit for shit, which is very frustrating, admittedly. But then you go and see what the players have to say about Maldi, and the coaches have to say about Maldi, and the other teams, managers, and players have to say about Maldonado, and it's like, oh, okay, well, we're idiots. I'm going to shut up now. But for whatever reason, a plethora of Astros fans struggle with this concept on a game-to-game basis. Maldonado's value behind home plate is more than canceling out how shitty he is with his bat. That's the belief of Justin Verlander, Dusty Baker, Jim Crane. That's why we are where we are here. I mean, is it Is it hard to understand as a normie at home? For sure. But it does make an enormous difference to the pitchers. When you're out there, and especially when you don't feel like you have your best stuff, which is most pitchers, most games, you want to know that the guy behind home plate has your back more than anybody. Because everybody else is against you. And that's how it feels when you're on the mound. And if that guy knows every single hitter that steps into the box and where you need to place those pitches and what pitches to throw, and you've got that confidence in him, it brings you to a whole other level. And we might not have been able to see the benefits of that as much this season so far, obviously. But, I mean, that's the case. It is the way it works. So, no, you're not. And look, it's two-sided. One, I think Maldonado's getting a bad rap because our pitchers have not been great this season. In flashes, sure. But overall, not really. Two, the hitting hasn't been as good as it should be. It hasn't been consistent. The lineup is different every single game. Guys are in and out of the lineup. Everybody's been hurt. Altuve's gone. Alvarez is gone. Kyle Tucker's gone. Chas McCormick's gone. Like, guys have been banged up. Abreu's gone. Abreu can't hit a baseball. Abreu can hit a baseball. So Maldonado's non-existent bat there at the end of the lineup looks even worse when you're struggling as much at the plate as we did, for example, this weekend. Like that JP France game. But Yainer Diaz, here's the other side of the argument. Yes, he can hit a baseball. That's huge when you're playing professional baseball. It's admittedly a big piece of it. It's important. To generate runs, you must hit. But he clearly is not. First of all, he gunned a couple guys down earlier on in the season, and that really gave steam to this whole, like, get rid of Maldonado, put Diaz out there every single game argument. If you haven't noticed since then, he has his flaws behind the plate. So not only is he not as experienced of a game caller, scouter, and general game manager as Maldonado, but also he's making some mistakes. I've watched him fail to throw out a couple of guys stealing second base over the past several days. He has not been hitting the same. He's still a good hitter. He's still inarguably 100 times better at batting than Maldonado. But that other side of it is more valuable right now. And that's where there's a gap. Like when Yainer Diaz can make up that gap, and the whole idea is it's almost like an apprenticeship right now. He's learning from one of the best to ever do it from a game calling perspective. So when he makes up that gap, he will play in front of Maldonado. I guarantee it, unless it's like Verlander or somebody that demands Maldonado catch. But right now, he's not there yet. He's not there yet. The value is not there yet. The trade-off is not there yet. And it's on the other 8 guys in the batting lineup to offset his lack of hitting ability. That is the truth. And if they can't do it, that's on them, not on Maldi. He's got his job. And I know, look, there are guys I respect a great deal in the sports media world who are like so against Maldonado at this point. But the way I handle situations like this as a fan is I look to the management and the players and the ownership and see what they think about the guy. And if everybody on the field is telling you, which they do over and over and over and over, no, Maldonado is the guy. He is that good and he's the one we want. And if Justin Verlander is out there telling you this and you're not going to listen, you're not going to listen. But like that's what I care about. I don't really give a shit what any of us at home think at the end of the day. Because again, as I've said 3 times on the show already, we're idiots. We're not professional baseball players or professional baseball coaches or managers or owners. We don't know. We think we know. We love to talk about it. But like we don't know. They know. If Verlander comes out and says, I can't handle this guy, he can't hit, that matters more to me than how good he makes me feel on the mound, get rid of him, that's a different story. If then they're still throwing him out there, I'm like, I don't know what the deal is. But like he clearly has the skill set behind home plate and is respected league-wide for his ability to call a game and to help pitchers deal with their shit. Like right now it feels worse because Framber's a mess. But that's on Framber, not Maldi. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a disconnect here between where we are at home on our couches and what is happening on the field. But if you think like Dusty Baker and Jim Crane are just going, nah, this is a stubbornness thing and we refuse to change. We're just going to keep throwing out a guy that's making our chances of winning shittier. I don't believe that's the way this is happening. So, I mean, it's a complicated situation with the DH position with Brantley and Diaz. But before you get into worrying about whether or not Diaz or Brantley will DH for us, let's see Michael Brantley swing a bat in a Major League Baseball game this season, huh? Let's do that first, and then we can talk about who should be the DH in the playoffs. Let's make the playoffs first, and then we can talk about that. But, is it complicated? Absolutely. Is Maldonado's value seemingly this obscure, statisticless thing that we all have to just fucking sit here and respect, and it's frustrating? For sure. But you still got to do it. Or, you think you know better than Justin Verlander? That's tough. He's got 2 Cy Youngs and 2 World Series rings, man. I don't know if we know more than him, you know? Yeah. Anyway, good call, Zach. I appreciate it. One of the bigger conversations in Astros baseball right now. Has been all season. But I default to the guys who are professionals, who know what they're doing because they run the team or they play on it in this case. One more call. Here it is.
Hello. My name is Tristan. I'm live in the DFW area right now, and the take kind of has to go with level of urgency. Maybe it's just me, but I see the Rangers, I see Seattle, their managers are just having a bit more urgency in some of their games. I understand having for the bullpen and the issues Dusty has had to make certain decisions, but it just seems like we're not playing to that level of urgency that I saw last year. And I have seen a take around that there have been that Dusty's kind of managing with a 10-run lead or a 10-game lead. Well, that kind of goes back to what we're playing right now, where it seems like, Tucker coming in to play 2 innings. Why didn't he DH at that point if he's healthy enough? I'm sure that there's more to the story, but it just seems that the urgency until yesterday, until getting swept, and now there's a players-only meeting, I think hopefully that kind of lights a fire under us that, hey, it's mid-October, mid-August, going to late August, going to September. We got to step the game up, or else, the Rangers are going to pass us by, even though I still think we still somehow make it and win the division. I still would like to see some urgency, at least. Maybe that was too long, but that's just something that I'm seeing, and it just kind of bothers me that it looks like we have a 10-game lead in the West when we're fighting for a playoff spot at this point. We have Seattle and we got Toronto right on our heels, and they are half a game back.
Yeah, Tristan, living in the DFW area, it does sometimes feel like, over the past 2 months especially, right? Like Dusty is managing with the assumption that we will make the playoffs. I think that's something you might see change at this point in the season. You've also got to remember, though, we haven't had a healthy roster all year long, so we're just now getting everybody healthy and going to be at full strength to where we'll actually see what's what. We're just such a spoiled fan base at this point. There's no other way to say it. With the amount of success that this team has had over the last 6 seasons, we are spoiled. And we haven't been in this spot in a while where we had a rough year, injuries, and everything went wrong, and suddenly we're not in the division lead, and we're chasing the Rangers of all teams, and it's just like, what the hell happened here? It's easy to panic. But the lack of urgency from management, to me, is not, again, as big of a deal as the players on the field are the ones responsible for the product on the field. End of story. If they can't get it done, it's on them. You don't just turn to management every single time. Y'all have got to start giving some of the blame to the players actually playing the game. And also, this is a marathon, not a sprint from a managerial perspective. You are trying to worry about keeping guys fresh, not letting dudes get burned out, keeping guys getting their rest days, especially like the Altuves and the Alvarezes of this team that have been on the injured list for a lot of the time this season, and they need to stay fresh and make sure. I'm telling you, it's August 21st, man. This is so ridiculous because we're in the same exact spot we were last Thursday. That's it. 2.5 games back of Arlington. Certainly isn't panic time, but I do think the players-only meeting, that tells me a lot too. It's like they know it's on them. They know. They're making Dusty look bad a lot of these games, man. Like, they got to play. They got to perform. They're all professionals. They're all good enough. We know that because we've seen them at their best. So I don't put a lot of the blame on Dusty. I don't think the lack of a sense of urgency is on him at all. That's on them. There's no excuse. There isn't. I know everybody wants to find one. The only thing I can tell you is that the Rangers got better. They spent $800 million fucking dollars in free agency. The Mariners got better. They're a year older, and they're not a bad team. So we have a good division with a couple different teams that can challenge us for it. And we're going to have to outplay them. We're going to have to beat those guys. So this weekend hurt, for sure. Just under 40 games left. That's a lot of baseball. A lot of baseball. You look at the Rangers and the Mariners, who's the more experienced team out of the three? You look at the lineups, who's the more dangerous team out of the three? The answer is the Astros to both of those questions. For that reason, I remain relatively chill about the entire situation. As we get closer to October, we'll see how things shake out. I mean, it's a fight now. I like that. It's not just going to get handed to us. They're going to have to take it. They're going to have to earn it. So this could be special because we could get to see really what level this team can play at. And I think overall, if you look at the whole front to back, the lineup and the pitching staff and everything, it is one of the most exciting rosters that the Astros have ever fielded. We just haven't really gotten to see them play much because everybody's hurt. People have been hurt. People are old. Shit gets weird. That's been a fucked up season, man. There's no other way to say it. But I'm excited about where we're at. I love our chances still. And I think that the fan base that we have, experiencing the amount of winning that we've experienced over the last 6 years, we get to points where we're not working with logic anymore. We're just reactionary. And that's crazy to me. Like, I'm with you. Like, this weekend, there was a lack of a sense of urgency. The players-only meeting taking place after Sunday's game, though, tells me that the vets notice that and want to make sure it is instilled. So we'll see where we go from here. Big series starts tonight against the Red Sox, who just swept the Yankees. And no matter what happens the rest of the season, at least we're not the New York Yankees. At least we've got that going for us. The Red Sox are very beatable. We know this. We need to sweep that series. If we do that, would everybody that called in today upset or complaining, or all the fans on Twitter feel a lot better than they did after Seattle's series? Yes. You got to have a short memory in baseball, just like you do in life. I don't know how, as a fan of this franchise who's watched the last 6 seasons, I don't know how you couldn't feel good about where we are right now. It's frustrating at times. This weekend, it sucked. But overall, we're built for this. We are. So I look forward to seeing how they get it done over the next 37 games. That will do it for today's show, but remember, every episode of Banging the Can is available on YouTube at youtube.com/@bangingthecan for those of you who would prefer to watch rather than just listen to our show. youtube.com/@bangingthecan. Frankly, if you want to support the show, one way to do so would be to go subscribe on YouTube, even if you're not really a person who prefers to watch. You can still continue to listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever podcast platform you prefer. But if you get subscribed on YouTube, it helps us out with the algorithm so we can continue to grow the show. So go to youtube.com/@bangingthecan today and subscribe. On that note, please share the most unapologetic Houston sports show in existence with your friends and family. Support our sponsors. This week we had Bird Dogs, birddogs.com/BTC, code BTC for that free hat with your order. birddogs.com/BTC, code BTC when you check out. And speaking of checking out, check out my media startup, Bolen Media, at bolenmedia.com. My comedy show, The Ross Bolen Podcast, available wherever you listen to Banging the Can. Follow us on TikTok at Banging the Can, on Instagram and Twitter at Banging the Can. Make sure you get your hotline calls in, 888 820-323-39. I am Ross Bolen. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at WRBolen. I will be back soon. Until next time, go Astros and H-Town. Stay down.